Hey, welcome to Clarksville Vibe the show where we tell the stories about people here in Clarksville, Tennessee who make this place the greatest place to live in America. I'm your host, Kevin Kennedy Jr., local pediatric dentist, pretty much a lifelong Clarksvillian. Went away for school for a couple years and then decided to call Clarksville home. Am raising my family here and just getting to tell this great positive story about people from all over Clarksville who are making this the greatest place to live. If you've caught any of our other episodes, you know we've just had consistent content with great people who are either maybe from here or decided to call Clarksville home later in life, but who are doing amazing things all across our community. One of my goals is to really have touch points in all different sectors of our community, both in different industries, but also different generations. So we're going to tag some young people along the way. Today, I've got a younger guest, somebody that I'm really excited to hear more of his story, somebody that I'm really impressed with, who's got a great resume, but also got, fun, engaging personality and is just absolutely working his tail off. So part of this episode is to really push back on all the narrative of the baby boomers that these young kids aren't working hard, because I know this dude is out there busting his tail all over town trying to make a living and build his family. So today we have got Hunter Richardson. He's a Clarksville native, went away to play golf at Martin for a couple years, and then has got a really great golf journey that we're going to get more into. Is one of the better golfers that's come out of our area for sure. I'll let him tell us more about that, but is now operating businesses and just finding holes in our community where he can kind of fill in with some skill. And it's really going to get to be fun to hear how he's finding a need and then just learning how to do it and making it happen and blessing people in their homes around the community. So Hunter, hey, thanks for jumping on the show and getting to tell part of your story.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So let's start with a little bit of the Clarksville history. You're a hometown boy. You're kind of raised here. Your parents are still here, and I know they've been a big part of your journey. So let's just right off the top, tell us a little bit about your parents, kind of where you came from. What does your family dynamic look like?
Right. Mom's born and raised Clarksville. My dad is from Kentucky. Okay. A lot of people always give me crap about why I'm a Kentucky fan living in Tennessee, and I'm like, I have 6-month-old baby pictures in a Kentucky outfit. So
what high school did your mom go to? You remember?
She went to Clarksville High.
Oh, Clarksville High. Gotcha.
And then don't know where my dad went. Yeah. Somewhere in Auburn, Kentucky. It doesn't matter. I don't even think that school is like.
Do they even give diplomas in Kentucky?
Right. Yeah. But yeah, born and raised here. Obviously, or like you said, went off to school in Martin for 4 years and came back, and here we are.
Yeah, and really big news. Just got married.
Yep. Last Saturday, June 10th. So, or I guess that was 2 Saturdays ago now. But did the whole honeymoon thing and just got back. So life's smacking me in the face now.
If it wasn't before, it's definitely smacking you in the face now. Right. Your wife is Emily. She's also Clarksville native.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Where'd you guys first meet?
High school. That is a pretty funny story. Weren't too fond of each other in high school for a few years. I'll make a long story short. We had a English class together our senior year. I was definitely liked her way more than she did me, and just kind of pursued it for a few years with no luck at all. Then went off to college, and she always says that whenever I left, she was kind of like, well, maybe I do kind of like him. And so long story short, we kind of made it work through college. I think we started dating end of my sophomore year, and been together ever since.
Yeah, very cool.
So,
well, congrats to you. It's really exciting,
Yep.
And one of the things that one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on the show is because obviously you've got all these Clarksville connections, and we'll get into that quite a bit. But you're still a young guy. I feel like I was 26 just yesterday, and then I do the math. I'm like, man, that's like 12, 13 years ago.
Right.
And, this next season for you is just going to, snap your fingers, and it happens. And I'm sure your dad would say the same to me of like, oh, man, you're only 38. Like, you got a whole lifetime ahead of you. I know that. I get it. But I'm very jealous and envious of that, like 26 to 36 zone. It's a really, really fun time to live. No kids and just kind of being newlyweds and figuring out what do you want to make of your life. It's really, really fun. And I think Clarksville's a great place to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Have you reached the season yet where a lot of your friends are moving back to Clarksville?
Not I've reached more of the season of a lot of my friends are like having kids, which is really weird because I'm like, we got a few more years for that.
Yeah.
I'm definitely not ready to dive off into that yet. So that's been strange. Some of my really good friends are like, we might go out and eat dinner or something. They're like, we can't go because we got to watch the kid. And I'm
that's
like,
right.
Understand that, I guess. I was like,
just not my world yet.
Right.
Yeah. So I moved back. I was probably 28. And then I noticed like 29 to 32 or so, people started trickling back in.
Right.
As you had kids and like maybe they were living in Denver or they were living in Atlanta or living in some big metro area. And then, it's like, man, it's really expensive to live in those places.
Right.
And we don't have childcare and we don't know how to find a babysitter. And so now some of my close friends that I've been friends with since high school, we were all in different places in those mid-20s. And then then we just started to trickle on back in. Clarksville's such a great place. And I'm sure your experience was like mine. In high school, you're like, I'm getting out of here and I'm never coming back.
Right.
And then here we are, having, dinner with our parents, at the same Cracker Barrel that, we grew up going to.
Right. Yeah, that was a big part of my reasoning for going to Martin. I had an offer to Austin P, had a few different offers from other schools, but I was not staying in Clarksville. It didn't matter if it was full ride or like I was getting out.
Yeah.
And another reason why I went to Martin is because it was very close to home for me as far as hunting.
Yeah.
Which is a huge passion of mine. So it all worked out. Went away for 4 years and then eventually
let's talk about the golf journey a little bit. So, I've got to say right off the top, if there are any golfers listening and I put my foot in my mouth, I'm not a golfer. I don't have the patience to be a golfer. I know this sounds really bad. I'm so competitive. Like, I don't think I could make it through one round because at 38, I can't pick it up and compete with y'all. Like it's not happening. So I've just given it up. It's not a part of my life and I can't do it. But, what I do get envious of sometimes is people like yourself who've kind of grown up in this golf community and you make so many good connections around golf, especially in the Clarksville community. So when do you remember kind of like first really wanting to play, and what course was that at? And, I'm assuming your dad played a big role in that too.
For sure. Honestly, for me, if you would ask me at 8 years old what I was going to do when I grew up, it was be a professional baseball player. It was not golf.
Now, did you play Clarksville National?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that and travel ball.
Okay.
But I actually got in I took a line shot to the nose at, I think I was 10. Batting practice, ball was hit to the outfield. We were just, we weren't fielding or nothing. We were just, catching balls or whatever. And they tossed one in from the outfield and it rolled in between my legs. And I looked down to look at the ball that rolled in between my legs, and when I looked up, it was lights out. I don't remember any of it. This is all just stories that have been told to me. But broke my nose. I just remember waking up in the hospital with like doctors and my parents like over me, and just freaked out and didn't know where I was.
10 years old.
What was going on?
Wow.
Yeah, 10 years old. And around that time, I had been getting into golf with my dad. He was a member at Nova in Hopkinsville, Kentucky, which is now no longer a golf course. I believe it's a steakhouse. The clubhouse is.
I didn't know it was no longer a golf. That's
it's
how
not,
disconnected I am from golf. Yeah, but there's a steakhouse back there.
It is a cornfield and a steakhouse.
Yeah. Okay.
And
a neighborhood. Maybe they put houses on the golf course.
Right.
I don't know.
But around that time, I had kind of been getting into golf, and I kind of had just a natural ability to just hit it.
Yeah.
But for me at that time, I was just wanting to go drive the cart and just be
Hang
with
out.
my dad.
Right.
But anyways, kind of grew into more of a passion. And then baseball slowly kind of started to dwindle just because of the fear. I tried to play one more year of baseball after that happened, and it was never the same. Yeah. And in this same time frame, I was constantly getting a little bit better at golf and realized that I had some talent there. So I think I made the decision at 12, which was a big decision for a 12-year-old, like baseball or golf. Chose golf. It obviously ended up okay for me. But yeah, that's kind of how my golf journey began.
Yeah. Who do you remember playing with locally, in those years, like 12, 14, 15 years old?
That's so funny that you say that, because golly, they were all just giving me crap, but I'm trying to think. I mean, I don't know why, but Trey Norman, for whatever reason, comes to mind.
Yeah.
Cleve Gwynn
Yeah.
comes to mind. They were all older than me. I mean,
And now,
I was
were
like,
you playing with them just because you were good enough? And
I was trying.
Yeah.
I was doing everything I could to be cool enough to play with them, because, I mean, Wes
Sure.
Parsons was another one.
Yeah.
Trying to think. Alec Mills.
Okay. Yeah.
And
then he's who went on to play professional baseball, right?
Along with
yeah.
Wes.
Yeah. Okay.
Wes, they're both still playing.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I was just doing anything I could do
Sure.
to
get
like,
around those guys.
like even if I had to play the red tees, I was like, I'll play the red tees, and if y'all beat me, then I'll pay you the $5 bet or whatever it was,
Well, I'm sure Cleve had something to do with that. Cleve's probably always working some deal behind the scenes to get a free hot dog somewhere.
Right. But yeah, it was those guys, and that would have been at the country club.
Yeah.
We ended up joining there when I was like probably 13.
Yeah.
13 or 14, somewhere in there. So that would have been middle school into early high school. They would have been like juniors or maybe seniors in high school when I was like 8th grade or freshman maybe.
Right.
So naturally they were like kind of role models to me. But yeah, I mean, I know there's a few more, but those are the 4 that kind of come off the top of my head.
So when did you like you make this transition, you went to Clarksville High, like you're starting to be a golfer there, freshman, sophomore year, I don't know how your career went, but it's kind of like you're still looking up to people. But then at some point you get this like, no, I'm the guy. Like I'm gonna be the guy that takes us as far as we're gonna go. Like you change your mentality a little bit. When was that?
Probably sophomore or junior year of high school. I mean, that was when I was like, I want to do this in college.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do everything I can do to get to the next level. And for me, that was college at the time. But yeah, I mean, was winning matches. I hate to sound cocky when I say this, but was winning quite a few of the 9-hole and 18-hole matches that we were playing, and just kind of playing some local junior events as well as national junior events, kind of across the Southeast, more so in Tennessee, but there was a couple a little farther south, and then kind of started getting college recognition from there. And
is there a favorite course like that high school players play on in the state that you're like, oh man, when we used to go play here, it was super fun? Like for me, baseball, I loved going down to Memphis. Not that the fields were great, but it was just like the trip, the experience, like all that was cool.
Only thing, maybe Greystone.
Okay.
I mean, it's in Dixon, about an hour away. It's always in really good shape. That would probably be the only one. But I mean, for high school golf, you really don't travel. I mean, you're talking like Swan Lake, you're more local, because we're just playing, the teams within Montgomery County. So, I mean, really Swan Lake and like maybe Eastland Green at the time were like the extent of, until you got into regionals and state. But I feel like we had a tournament in high school at Greystone, and that was always like a fun one. Yeah. I don't know that for sure. I might have made that up.
Yeah. It is what it is. You played there at some point.
I've played there so many times.
But I guess that changed when you got to college, though, right?
College
because then you travel more. Like your conference is bigger. You're still OVC, right? And you're competing against Austin Peay and some of those teams that we know really well here. But what was that travel region like for you?
So that was anywhere from Arizona to Florida, Georgia, Alabama, obviously Tennessee, Missouri, Arkansas. So really all just over. Southeast, and then we would go play every year a tournament out in Arizona, which that was always fun for us because we got to fly.
Yeah.
Which with Martin being a smaller D1 school, we don't get as much of the like extensive travel as maybe like a SEC.
Sure.
I mean, those guys are flying like private jets to all over the nation.
Wherever. Yeah.
We didn't quite get that. They've gotten a lot closer to that. Their schedule, they got a new head coach who was one of my teammates at the time that I was playing there.
Does that make you feel old?
Kind of. Yeah. A little bit.
You're only 26,
right?
But,
but he's done an awesome job, and their schedule has changed quite a bit, and they're doing a lot more, even more travel than we were when we were there. So
yeah. What was your career like at Martin? Is that, I don't know how college compares to high school. Do you have to wait a certain time, or people upperclassmen kind of?
Right.
Varsity, junior varsity? What does that work like?
It's mainly just qualifying.
Okay.
Freshman, junior, it doesn't matter what you are. Okay. You go play 6 or 7 rounds of qualifying pre-season, and kind of however the scores fall within that kind of depicts the first few tournaments.
Yeah.
And then there will be more qualifying throughout the year for each. But for us, I guess I just kind of got on a heater. Yeah. I got hot in qualifying, played well, and I played in every tournament. Yeah. Freshman through senior year. Never missed a tournament. And so that helps. I mean, that's the thing in college is, some guys, they might only get to play 5 or 6 tournaments a year out of the 12 or 14 that you might play. And it's hard to get in a groove when you're doing that. But I mean, if you're playing, every tournament, every week, or, however often they do it, it helps. Yeah. I mean, because you can just kind of get in a groove and figure some stuff out.
Yeah. I'm sure that built your confidence a lot. And so
For
at
sure.
some point, like
Right.
that gear shifts and like, maybe I can do this professionally. So like high school, it's like, I'm going to take this to the next level, which is college. Mm-hmm. And then, what is that process like of like, I might even be able to do this after college?
Yeah. Honestly, when I went to college, I had always dreamed of playing after school professionally. Yeah. Never really thought it was a reality until I got into college and was playing and was competing and winning. I won 12 times in college, which is, I know that doesn't really sound like a ton, but that's quite a bit
for
in
a college
the golf
golfer,
world.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
Won 2 conference championships. So when I saw that, I was like, because I'm a realist. I just am. Yeah. If I wouldn't have had the career that I had in college, no shot I would have tried to play.
Just looking at it on paper, like,
right.
This is what I've actually accomplished. This is my resume. Maybe I do have the skill.
Well, it's just, you see guys that are playing in college and they're not really competing in college, and then they go try to play after. And it's like, if you're not competing in college, there's probably not a good chance that you're going to compete after. And so for me, like I said, I'm very realistic when it comes to that. And so when I saw that I was competing there, I was like, well, I might as well give it a shot while I got the chance.
Kind of owe it to yourself to see what you can do with it.
Give it a shot while I had the opportunity.
Yeah. So what is that process like? Because from what I hear, and I don't know much about golf, say that again, but I hear that the process is just like the funnel of all funnels. Like, it just gets real narrow. The field gets smaller and smaller and smaller. And, of course, you've got to make cuts and you've got to, do well at this tournament just to qualify to make it into this tournament.
Yeah, there's a handful of ways to do it. Yeah. There's really only one way to actually do it, if that makes any sense at all. But I went through Q school, which is not school. It is basically a series of tournaments, 4-round tournaments. There's pre-Q, which is pre-qualifying, first stage, second stage, and then final stage of what is now Korn Ferry Tour, which the easiest way to explain it Korn Ferry Tour would basically be like AAA baseball. Yeah. So PGA Tour would be MLB. Yeah. AAA would be Korn Ferry, and then AA would be like your PGA Tour Latin, PGA Tour Canada, China, etc. So I went through I tried for Latin. I don't even remember why I chose that one. Yeah. There was a reason, but I'm not 100% sure. But went through Latin, got through it my first year trying. And then through Latin, there's a 14 tournament series all throughout South America. You play pretty much the whole year as long as you keep status. It's a very confusing process if you haven't already figured that out. If you keep your status throughout the year, basically there's a points list, and at the end of the year, the top 5, I believe it was, it's changed so many times, even since I've quit playing, which was only like 2 years ago. Yeah. I believe it was top 5 on Latin. They get full status on Korn Ferry Tour, which would be AAA. Sure. Top 10, so 6 through 10 get conditional status, and then they're exempt to final stage of Q school. It's a mess.
It's a mess.
It's very confusing, which you can, it's hard to keep up with.
So then what did you eventually do? Did you make the Corn Ferry tour?
Never did.
Okay, gotcha.
I missed. So that was for Latin, but then
Yes.
there's also a Q school every year for Corn Ferry.
Oh, okay, cool.
Right before COVID, I missed getting Corn Ferry status by one shot. Then 2 months later, COVID hit, the world ended, and I kind of went through some back problems. Sure. And that was kind of when it went downhill for me as far as career in golf goes.
That's crazy. COVID just comes in and just abruptly really changed everyone's world in different ways.
It really
it's
did.
like you're on this pursuit of international travel, which gets shut down, public spaces, which gets shut down.
Traveling was just a nightmare.
Yeah.
But for me, like I said, again, I'm very realistic. When I first started playing professional golf, I kind of had a timeline for myself. I kind of said, because I started playing professionally when I was 21. And so I was like, I'm going to give it till 25 or 26. And if I haven't made it at least one step closer to where I want to be, then it's going to be time to like really start making some decisions as far as, which route I want to go with my life. And it was 24. I think I was 20. Let's see. I was 24 when COVID hit. Then we were out for a year.
Yeah.
So I was getting real close to kind of that timeline of where I was kind of cutting it off, making decisions. Then I had some back problems, and it just, I did a lot of praying, a lot of just asking, just trying to figure out which route I wanted to go, and just kind of decided that was time.
So did you know Clarksville was going to be your home at that point? Did you think the world was open to you? Like, how was that process like? Because obviously, like, you're having career lifelong decisions at 24, 25, which is not what a lot of people really have to make at that young of an age. But you're also getting to decide where to plant some real roots and enter into the workforce.
Right. Yeah. I mean, because at that point in time, I was still dating Emily. We weren't engaged or anything like that. So she was in Clarksville. My whole family was in Clarksville. So I don't think that was ever really a question. I was always coming back here no matter what. Had no clue what I was going to do. I mean, I was just searching. I took a sales job for like 6 months. Hated it.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah.
I was like, this is not what I want to do.
Yeah.
Worked with my dad. He does landscaping and irrigation. He's owned his own business for almost 40 years now. Of course, I've been around that my entire life. That's just kind of what I've always known, landscaping and mowing grass and, just that type of work. And so I was like, I was like, I don't want to do that. I was like, I was like, I want an office job. I was like, I don't want to be outside anymore. I want to be in the air conditioning. Until I did that and was stuck behind a desk all day. And I was like, this is terrible. I was like, I want to go back outside. And so really that's kind of how I ended up doing what I'm doing now.
Yeah. So let's chat about that. So now you've basically created this new business from scratch. You're running it, operating it, marketing it, setting a budget. We're learning how to do QuickBooks.
We're figuring it out.
You're figuring it out. Yeah. The name of it is Nova Lightscapes.
Correct.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about what you do.
So we specialize in outdoor low voltage landscape lighting, which would be anywhere from pool lighting, deck lighting, lighting on the fronts of houses, up lighting. And actually more recently, I've kind of dabbled back into my golf background, which would be installing turf, more specifically installing turf putting greens. And that has been so much fun for me because it's, I get done with the job and it's like, I want to go putt on it. Like I'm going to call this.
You get the first putt on every job. Yeah.
Right. I'm going to call this client and be like, hey, can I come over? So that it's been so much fun and I enjoy it. And I mean, with that type of work, I do a little bit of landscaping. It just kind of goes hand in hand. I hate to tell a client, no.
Yeah, right.
Like I'm already here.
Yeah.
I'm already going to be here for a couple of days. Like, so a little bit of that as well. But I've just really enjoyed it, and I really don't even feel like I'm working because, another nice thing, I'm my own boss, so
Sure.
I can, if I need to run to the house and check on the dogs or whatever it might be, I can do that,
Yeah,
so
that's awesome. And the story I remember you telling me is you had a friend that was doing something similar, and you were like, "Oh,
right.
That's an opportunity. Like, what does that look like?"
Mm-hmm.
Nobody doing it in Clarksville consistently.
Right.
Like, yeah, I'll just do that. We'll make it
Yeah,
work.
so a good friend of mine who lives in Martin, where I went to school, made good friends with him at college. He was doing this in Martin, lot smaller town than Clarksville,
Yeah.
not near as growing as Clarksville is, and was doing very well with it. And so I kind of got to looking around, and was like, "There's nobody doing that here."
Yeah.
And it looks amazing. And so basically, I owe him almost everything because he literally drove to Clarksville one day. We ordered some lights for my parents' house, and he taught me how to do it.
Wow.
And I was
That's
like,
a good friend.
Yeah, and I was like, dude, like I got to pay you something.
Yeah.
Especially now that
Sure.
that it has done way better than I ever thought it would. I'm like, what do you want? Like, do you want like an Amazon gift card or and he's will never take anything. But that's just kind of guy.
I'll tell you, as you live long enough and like you get around people who, maybe business owners or they're doing well in their careers. When someone gives you the gift like that, really the best thing you can do is give that same gift to somebody else.
Right.
It's like when somebody has bought me dinner, who might be in their late 40s, early 50s, like a little season ahead of me. And I'm like, I feel bad. You shouldn't have to buy me dinner. But I'm really grateful, and I'm really thankful for that time and the advice that you shared me. What I found is when I go back to them and say, hey, I just want you to know, like, we just had dinner with the Austin P student, and we covered it for you, or we covered it for them.
Right.
And we did that in honor of you. That
That's
was the
cool.
best way to repay that,
That's really cool.
Because an Amazon card is nice, but he didn't drive up this way for $50, but he gave you a gift, and you get to give that back.
Sure.
What's been, so like, obviously you're doing something, you don't have a lot of people to lean on when something goes wrong. So how are you troubleshooting problems as they come up? Because you say you're figuring it out. Like, you're figuring it out.
Avoid them at all costs.
Nice.
No, I'm kidding. Because there's always, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you're doing. There's going to be problems. I hate to say this again, but just figuring it out.
Yeah.
Picking up the phone and not being afraid to make a phone call to someone that may or may not even want to talk to you.
Yeah.
But they know how to do it or what to do. I've really leaned on some of my suppliers. They've been very helpful. Of course, and like I said, my dad has kind of been in the same type of industry, so he's been a big help.
I'm sure he's a wealth of knowledge in just dealing with people.
Right.
Yeah. Because that's a whole new skill that you're having to learn is reading people. Like how particular are they going to be about the quote?
Right.
How particular are they going to be about, it's up and it's good, but they're still not happy, or it's not what they expected, or.
Well, and that's one thing that I am thankful for. I told you I took that sales job.
Yeah.
And that was, I didn't know it at the time, but that helped me a ton.
Yeah.
Literally just learning, I hate to say like how to be salesy, but kind of how to be salesy.
Yeah.
Because I never would have thought that job was ever going to like repay me as far as like being helpful.
No, but the skills are infinitely valuable.
It was very valuable.
Yeah.
Didn't know it at the time. That was definitely a blessing in disguise. Because at that point in time, landscape lighting and artificial turf and whatever else I'm doing now was not in the books, like at all.
I had no idea that was coming.
Yeah. Not at all.
Yeah.
So, really just not being afraid to ask for help.
And the good thing about sales, especially when you're owner-operator, is you're not necessarily just creating a sales pitch to convert more clients to get more business. Part of that sales pitch is, this is what my skill set is. This is what I value. This is what I'm going to bring to you. And then eventually getting to a place in your business where you can say, And if that's not really what you're looking for, that's okay.
Right.
You know,
Yeah,
and sometimes the best business you can do is turn it down.
Yeah.
You know, it's just really hard to say in that first year,
very hard to say,
you know,
no.
But to get to a place where, you know, in my practice, like there's been times where these are not bad people. There's no ill will. It's just maybe what they're wanting for their child is not necessarily something that I can consistently provide in my practice.
Right.
And it's been really nice to say, you know, I don't think I'm going to be able to meet your needs here.
Right.
But we do have other
Not a good fit.
Yeah, we're just not a good fit.
Yeah.
And, you know, we can move on. And part of the like having the confidence in sales is to know like, yeah, that's exactly what I'm good at. And I'm going to knock that out of the park. And then there's some things where you're like, you know, that's maybe not my role here.
Right.
I'm curious about the turf a little bit. So,
right.
You get this first idea. Somebody's like, "Hey, can you do turf?" You're like, "Well, I don't know, but I'll figure it out." So, is it YouTube? Is that where you go first?
So, like I said, I had the guy approach me, wanting. He's like, "I want this putting green."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Okay, how are we gonna do that?"
Yeah.
He's like, "I don't know. I was hoping you would know."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Well, I don't know how to do it either." Literally YouTube University on that one.
Yeah.
Since then, I have found other outlets of expertise and knowledge, and actually know what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
And this guy knew up front, like he knew that.
Yeah, you know what you're getting. Like, I don't know, but I'll try.
I straight up told him, I was like, if this is a disaster, I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
good part of the sales pitch to disclose up front. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But no, honestly, I owe him a lot too, just trusting me.
Sure.
To even take that job on.
What was the hardest part of that first one?
Well, luckily he had a guy that he had a carpet guy.
Oh, okay.
And carpeting is somewhat similar with the turf because it's essentially outdoor carpet.
Right.
I mean, that's essentially what it is. He was a big help.
Mm-hmm.
The hardest part, really and truly, was just the seaming of the turf. You know, taking two pieces of turf, putting them together, and trying to make that invisible.
Yeah, no bulges, no gaps.
That's hard to do.
Yeah.
It's time consuming. There is some hard work involved as far as, you know, like manual physical labor. But like I said, I've just enjoyed it because at the end of the day, I'm like, I'm going to be able to putt on this when I get done. Yeah. You know, which brings me back to, you know, kind of my happy place.
Yeah.
And so it's been really cool, and I hope to grow that part of the business.
Do you think that there's a market here, or does it even exist in other places where people are maybe like on a smaller yard ditching grass altogether and just going for turf and just saying, hey, I don't want to fool with it, mow with it, seed it.
Right.
I don't want to look at it. I just want it to be green out there
all year round.
All year round.
Right. I think it's growing. Yeah. And that's kind of why I chose to kind of dive into it. I do think it is a growing market. It's already gotten pretty big in Nashville. Yeah. And as you know, we're not that far from Nashville, and we're only getting closer. Yeah.
And a bunch of Nashville people are moving here.
Right.
You know, they're probably buying a old single family that was built in the 50s, tearing it down and putting up two tall skinnies, and they want to have the artificial turf in between them. Yeah.
It's definitely growing for sure. And I kind of hope to, I guess, like, you know, be like a pioneer of that industry in Clarksville. Yeah. Would be cool.
Well, it's cool that you have the belief in the community and you can kind of forecast the changes and see what is new, where can you fill a niche, you know, because you've got great skills. You could do anything that you wanted to do. Maybe not do sales all day long. I don't know if you
not sales.
But to say like, hey, this is not happening here. You know, for me, that was kind of like my tongue tie business. So we're seeing families kind of transformed by helping kids who are breastfeeding, and we're having difficulties with that in other markets around the country. And I'm like, well, nobody's really doing this in Clarksville. Like, who else can do it? Like, I'm in a great position to be able to do it. I don't know how to do it, but let's go get the training.
Very similar.
Let's go get the equipment. Let's just figure it out. And, you know, hopefully, like you said, I'm kind of a pioneer of that niche. You know, you get to do this, and hopefully lots of people who care a lot about Clarksville and who have big reputations that they have to withhold. You know, I really believe we do our best work because we can't ruin our reputation. You know, if you do a bad job on somebody's yard and they say, well, just don't call Hunter again. Guess what? You got 40 years of no business coming, you know, so you got to bring your A game every single time. Just like if someone brings me their infant and they're saying
Right.
we're having breastfeeding trouble, like it's a game every
Right.
single time. I can't afford to not do my absolute best
Right.
every single time. It's been real fun to kind of hear your story of hometown boy. You've got this just amazing golf career. You know, you achieved more. You're very humble about it, obviously, but to achieve what you did, 2-time player of the year, you know, college, conference, Division I, that's big. You pursue this in, you know, the professional ranks for a while. Who knows what happens without COVID, but that's just everybody's story is,
Right.
you know, there's just hiccups and curveballs that come along the way in life. And then now here you are creating new business that rolls into another business.
Right.
And who knows what comes next?
There's no telling.
There's no telling, but
no chance it's on the radar right
Yeah.
now. I mean, because these two that I'm doing now were not on the radar
Yeah.
at all.
yeah, absolutely. Favorite golf tournament to play in right now, just for fun?
Professionally or,
No,
or
just
just
around town. Do you play in any?
Well, so I'm technically still professional.
Oh, okay.
I haven't applied for my amateur
Gotcha.
status back
Okay.
yet. I played in the state open.
So if there was like a fundraiser in town, you can't go play in it. Like a
Fundraisers are a
Oh,
little different.
okay.
Because, I mean, if it's for a good cause and someone says something,
Yeah.
most likely if we win anyways, I'm probably just going to donate it back.
Sure. Yeah.
So if someone says something about that, then honestly, that's on them.
Yeah, that's on them.
But as far as like,
Yeah.
as far as like amateur events,
Yeah.
you know, like the Wendy's or
Okay.
you know, whatever it might be, I cannot play in those.
Oh, okay. Wow.
But I played in the Tennessee State Open 3 weeks ago, right before the wedding.
Yeah.
Emily was not happy about that one. I'm sorry.
He's totally forgiven. It's out there in
yeah.
the public space now.
Right.
Honeymoon's over. We've forgotten
Right.
about it long ago.
Played in that, and that was the first tournament I've played in like over a year, or over 10 months.
Yeah.
And I played pretty good the first 2 days, and the last day golf
Yeah.
happened.
Sure.
I don't really have a favorite
Yeah.
one around here.
Well,
just because I haven't played in any in
Add
so
20
long.
years onto your life, and you'll be like, wow, now I like to do this.
Right,
You know, like
right.
go out there and just goof off and
Right.
who knows, go beat Cleve at something.
Yeah.
You know?
I still enjoy to play. Like, I mean, I just enjoy competing.
Yeah.
And I'll still play. And I'm actually planning on getting my amateur status back here in the next 6 months to a year. Would love to play in some more U.S. amateurs, U.S. mid-ams, things of that nature. So I'm not done competing in the golf world, just not how I was traveling to 13 countries and 28 states. And,
During COVID.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm done with that part of golf, but I'm not done playing competitively. I still do really enjoy it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, where can people find you in your business?
I've got Instagram and Facebook, both at Nova Lightscapes.
Yeah.
I try to keep it as busy as I can.
Yeah.
Keep posting on there just to kind of stay in front of people. But
it's a good resume. Like when you see people's before and afters of here's
for
what a
sure.
house looked like before the lights. Here's what it looks like after.
For sure.
Yeah.
And I just recently had a website made.
Okay.
NovaLightscapes.com. So that should be up and running within the next few days.
Yeah. By the time this releases, you can go
Hopefully.
check it out.
Yeah. So, and I'm super excited about that because people can go on there and inquire. So it'll be easier to find on Google.
Yeah.
You know, if someone's searching landscape lighting near me, it will hopefully be one of the first few that pop up. So I'm really excited for that.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, wish you much success, both professionally, but also personally. Congrats again on the wedding.
Thank you.
It's an exciting time in life.
For sure.
I'm really glad to have people like you in our community, just, who are talented in so many different things, but love Clarksville and chose to call it home and are bringing new things to town and willing to take a chance on themselves. So wish you nothing but success, man.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. If you made it to the end of this episode, hey, thank you so much. I'm sure you've enjoyed this episode with Hunter, and we've gone through his golf journey, his professional journey, starting businesses, all that fun stuff. These are the types of stories that we've been telling since the very first episode. So if you haven't caught them all before, scroll back all the way to episode 1, try to find a few names that you might be familiar with. But I would encourage you, listen to some people that you don't know. because those are some of the best feedback that I've got from other people of like, hey, I didn't know so-and-so was doing this here in our town. That episode was fantastic. So catch some episodes of people that you don't know as well. We'll keep bringing you great content of people who make Clarksville, Tennessee the best place to live in America. I'm your host, Kevin Kennedy. We'll see you on the next episode. Thanks so much.